Ken. We'll come in and cry. We'll find lunch.
There was a hand up over there? Yes. Yes.
So many things to say.
Absolutely.
Part of my trauma is
Yes.
from how much work I have to do. I don't have time for self-care because I can't unplug my phone. I'll get reported to State Bar. Instead of like, I have no support for anyone to say, I'll return, you don't want to answer that phone call, I'll return that phone call from you. So what are our solutions? Like, we don't work for these defense, we can't go on strike and get smaller caseloads. We don't have the option of taking time off or working part-time or taking an extended leave. Those things do not exist for us. So how are we, what are we
want tools.
I don't, and we're going to go into that. And I only have until 1:30. But Melinda, let me know when it's, let me know in 8 minutes.
Yeah, we have to get back to court.
How much time do I have left? I've got 15 minutes. See, normally this is a 1 to 2 day training, so I'm trying to talk like an auctioneer here. But first of all, thank you for raising the question about self-care, because right now it's not even on the radar. Okay, but obviously there's a need because we're all feeling like you, all of us, but we're not talking about it. So it makes you feel like, oh, you're the odd man out, odd woman out. You're not. You're just the one that was brave enough to say what we're all feeling and experiencing. So thank you for saying it, first of all. Yes?
I think like all of us here have been talking about it for a very long time. We just don't see changes. So amongst us, we talk about it on a daily basis when we're in court together, dealing with the day-to-day work. But it's just, there's no change. So I think all of us are just, we don't know what to do. We want solutions instead of, we've recognized it, we just want some way to change it.
Thank you for bringing that up. I go through a whole list of strategies at the end of my training when I normally do this. In your second packet, which we're going to talk about in like 3 minutes, normally I don't get into it until about 4 or 5 hours, but I want to at least introduce strategies to you. Thank you again for mentioning self-care over there. We do need to come up with a very concrete way to deal with self-care. I want to speak specifically to the whole notion of what's never done. And no, it isn't done. One of the biggest problems in dealing with people and dealing with the traumatized population is we misunderstand how we're supposed to judge ourselves, how we're supposed to feel good about ourselves. We don't build widgets. We don't build widgets. We're dealing with human beings. So because of that, the way we measure our success at the end of the day, the way we feel good about ourselves, to turn it off at the end of the day, is we realize we have to sever something. And that's outcome. We have to sever outcome. It actually has to be our best effort, and then at the end of the day, we sever outcome. Regardless of what happens with or to our clients, which is chiefly on their shoulders, good, bad, or indifferent, is not the way we measure our own success. You're all a success if you put in your best effort from the start of your tour to the end of your tour, regardless of the outcome. And that's a hard concept, because that's really tweaking it significantly. It's something that we gladly preach to our children, our friends, our loved ones. Yes, your best effort's good enough. But the problem is we don't assign that same standard to ourselves, right? It doesn't apply to the mirror. We demand something more. And that's part of the problem with self-care in dealing with human services, in dealing with a traumatized population. Because when you're dealing with traumatized people, their ability to recover, to heal, to make those permanent behavioral changes, that is a long process. That spans months, years, involving 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 or more people. We are but one little whisper in that process. So the only way you can judge or measure your own personal success at the end of the day is, I gave it my best effort. I'm good. I don't require or impose outcome on me. Because if you do, if you don't sever outcome, you will be disappointed, depressed, unhappy, and you will never turn it off. You will be on 24/7. And I'm just guessing you're not paid 24/7. It's just a guess. But if you don't sever outcome, you won't be able to turn off that switch. You'll lose sleep. You'll lose relationships. You won't taste that food as it goes in your mouth. Because you'll need to have that positive outcome first. We're going to hyperlink to the second packet, as I have, what, 90 seconds? About maybe 2 minutes? Oh, I got 7. Oh my God, okay. Okay, that second packet, self-care. And by the way, the boss has made a commitment to bring me back so we can do the full training. We don't want to shortchange you. So I'm going to bug them and hold them to that. This is just the introduction. You deserve the whole day. Because your welfare is really critically important. Without you, nothing happens. Okay. Okay, normally I spend a lot of time and we tease out all these subheadings very carefully, methodically, and there's a lot of information I share, a lot of specific strategies. But I'm just introducing these concepts to you at this point. Okay, first of all, awareness that BT exists, that you're not insulated because of your education, your training, those nice suits, the nice clothing, doesn't insulate you. You're still going to have this empathic engagement parallel reaction, indirect traumatization. That's still going to take place. That's the first thing. And that's the hardest hurdle, because most of us are noddle-headed and say, nah, not me. That's that person that just wears it on their sleeve. It's too emotional. And we ignore that. So that's the first thing, the awareness. Secondly, the balance. In all the years that I've done this, I find the trauma workers invariably choose one strategy to deal with it. Guess what that is? Well, thank you. Yes, they become connoisseurs of wine. Yes, certainly. But on the top of the list, they simply do more. They do more work and more work because they don't sever outcomes. So if I just keep doing it, I'll get to the end of the rainbow and I'll feel good. Right? I give a pop quiz about rest and play, and you know what I always hear? Well, 2011, I remember that was real restful. It's not part of who they are, and it's certainly not part of their work practice. So awareness, balance, balance. To achieve balance, you have to realize that as trauma workers, you have to have diversified roles in your life. You have to have other areas of your life where you don't carry the lion's share, where you don't make those incredible monumental decisions that are just life-shattering or just life-altering. Are there other diversified roles in your life where you can be frivolous, let go, let somebody else carry the load, let somebody else make the decisions? Or are you on 24/7? Because if you are and you're doing this trauma work, guess what? Your filter's not, your filament in that bulb's not going to last forever. You will burn out. And I don't mean you're going to leave the job. You'll just burn out and stay. Be part of the Walking Dead. Diversified roles in your life where you can let go and let somebody else make those heavy decisions. Critically important when you do trauma work. Connection. To maintain those positive human connections, because after a while, those connections, because of what happens to trust in our worldview and our view of other people, begin to erode and shrink. Maintaining those human connections. During the day, hey, you know, I just wanted to say I love you. Just wanted to say I'm thinking about you. Son, daughter, friend, intimate partner, whoever. Maintaining those human connections, incredibly, incredibly important when you do trauma work. Because when you let that go, then you're feeding into that changed worldview and changed view about how you see people. And because trust becomes more difficult, those connections become harder and harder to maintain and to develop. So one of the ways to mitigate against that assault on our core beliefs is to maintain those human connections in a very mindful way, in a very practical way. Part of the daily self-care is processing this material. How many times do you process below the chin? I know you process above the chin, but how many times do you mindfully, thoughtfully, in a very targeted way, process this material below the chin? Do you sit down with colleagues, supervisors, mentors? Do you have process groups? Does it even come up? Or do you simply run to the car like a lot of us and just cry in the car? Oh, I forgot something. I'm okay. In isolation, which cements the misbelief that this is a pathological issue, that there's something defective about you. Are there informal or formal process groups to deal with this reality? Because until you do those things, this isn't a reality. And self-care is just a good idea. And VT really isn't real. Part of that daily self-care, how do you stay grounded in who you are? Do you journal? Do you talk to somebody? Do you talk with a friend? Do you talk with a colleague? Because VT can simply cut off that anchor, and you can kind of forget who you are. I hear a common refrain, and when I do this work over and over again, I've lost sight of who I am. I don't recognize the person in the mirror anymore. That kind of scares me. I'm losing touch with who I am. What do you do to stay connected to self, to stay grounded in your identity, as those core beliefs are being assaulted? There is so much more that I go into and that I share. There's so much more engagement. There is nothing more important than our self-care. There is nothing more important than our welfare. We have a moral imperative to do this work in a way that does not damage self, first and foremost. I think I'm at the end of my time that I was given. Thank you very much for your attention. Questions, comments? Questions or comments?
Okay, thank you very much. From now on, we're trying to get the cafeteria, the DCFS conference room. We have scheduled for non-participatory trainings over there. We can just